So your girl moved to New York. Rise and shine, people of God. Yeah, I look like someone who lives in an igloo because it is so cold right now in Montreal. I just dropped off my daughter at school and now I wanted to go to the gym, but it's not happening today. First of all, I forgot my sneakers, and when I get back home, I do have a lot to do. Let's get started on what I promised you we would talk about today, which is a little bit of my background, a little bit of what I've experienced. I'm 38 years old, so let's consider this a reintroduction for anyone on my channel who may not know me personally. Keep a seatbelt on when you drive. Well, hi, my name is CiCi. Nice to meet you. I was born in Montreal, Quebec in Canada. And when my parents divorced, I was about maybe 8 or 9. We moved to Ottawa, which is the capital of Canada. That's where our parliament is, which is the version of the American White House. So grew up in Ottawa. We were big on church, going to church. Very involved. I was singing in the choir. I was singing Sunday mornings with the worship team. Singing was my life as a young person. I did a bachelor's in Ottawa, a bachelor's degree in psychology, and then I moved to Toronto to do a master's degree in a Bible college, actually. I was doing a master's in Christian counseling and family therapy, family and marriage therapy. Let's get in the house and chat. All right, so we are home. And I just wanted you to witness that, like, on a regular day, this is how I'd be looking. A little bit like a bum. And I do want to change that in 2025. But it's cold, sweater, tights, leg warmers. Like, this is what I do on a regular day when I just gotta get up and go and drop off my daughter. This is me. I quit the master's program because I felt like I was the wrong person to be giving advice. Lost a nail, yeah. The wrong person to be giving advice on marriage and proper family dynamics. Because again, I felt like I didn't have a good example to show. So I was like, what's the point? But then, while I was living in Toronto, I was surrounded by artists, surrounded by people who were go-getters, who weren't doing it the traditional way. They weren't just going to school to learn a career or to learn just like a field of specialty and then go work for somebody. I worked with people who had side gigs as actors, as performers, because I was also a singer, like I said. That exposed me to a whole world of like entrepreneurship and like, well, creative entrepreneurship to be exact. So I remember thinking, my goodness, I always loved acting. As a kid, I was in theater plays. I was doing a lot of spoken words, spoken arts. And I really wanted to give it a try. In my 20s, I thought, why not? Like, this is the time to do it. I kept thinking like, I want to look back at my 20s and be proud that I actually did bold things. So I enrolled in acting school in Toronto. So I was going to a private college, a private school for acting in Toronto, night classes. And then I was starting to book gigs. I was doing commercials. I was doing background work. I was doing a lot of commercials. And I just saw the kind of money people were making with that. I was like, what? This is a thing. Like, this is legit. So then I said, you know what? Let's take it further. And I was approached. I went to this private seminar. So I remember paying for it. It was a lot of money. It was like over $400 or $500 at the time. It was a whole lot for me. Shoot, still is. For just 2 days experience. He was really impressed with my performance because we all had to do like a monologue. And we had to do a scene actually with like, we had to pick a partner and do a scene with them. He was really impressed by what I did. He even used me as an example to the class and say, you know, this is how you have to let your inner child out. You got to be very comfortable in your body, in your element, and letting loose. And supposedly I was a good example of that. So I remember feeling really proud. And then at the end, he kind of pulled me aside and he said, hey, you know, you'd be a really great candidate for our program in New York. And I thought, oh my God, what? Like, move to New York? He's like, yeah, it's a 2-year program. We can help you figure it out, figure your whole visa application and all that. But you would be great for the school. And I thought, wow. So your girl moved to New York. I did. I went through the whole process, moved to New York. I was about 26. 26. Yeah, that was a whole journey in and of itself. Had a great time in New York. Like I said in the previous video, I was away from God, however. I did dibble and dabble, is that what they say? In new age stuff, like the chakras and the energies and the universe. And I was questioning a lot of the beliefs that I grew up believing, that I grew up having. Because in the moment in New York, that whole period, I didn't necessarily feel like, oh, I'm away from God and this is wrong. It's like, no, I was exploring what it was like to be outside of the church, outside of what I grew up with, outside of the mentalities and the perspectives that were imposed on me as a child growing up. And I don't say that in a bad way, because even the Bible says, teach a child in the way that he should go. And that way, when they grow up, they won't depart from it. But at the same time, I'm paraphrasing, but at the same time, the fact that I had to step away and learn things for myself, like that was legitimate. Like, it was important for me to go through that, so that when I learn God for myself, it's like no one can take it away from me. It's something that I live now on a regular basis. Yeah, so when I was new in New York, that's when I met my daughter's father, and we were in a relationship for almost a year, and really close with his family and all that, and things went sour. I will spare you the details. And I knew from the get-go that I would be doing it alone, because by that time we were not together. Shortly after I realized I was pregnant, it's like it dawned on me. I was like, oh my God, like I'm not only outside of God's will, but I'm not in relationship with him, and the spirit is not with me. The spirit is not in me right now. And I felt so low. I felt so sad, distraught. I felt the lowest I had ever felt. I felt unworthy. I felt like the door was closed. That's the best way I could put it. I remember begging friends. I'm like, what church do you go to? Are they open now? And I remember it must have been like a Tuesday or Wednesday when I felt like I was losing it. I was like, I need to go to a church now. And I was ready to go to a Catholic church, right? Like, I was so desperate. I just wanted to feel God's presence so bad. And then a friend of mine said, yeah, there's actually a Bible study going on right now. Here's the address. And I went, and I think, say it started at 7 and ended at like 8:30 or 9. I got there at like 6:45, first of all. I was there before they even opened the church doors. The minute they opened the doors, I went inside and I sat down. From 7:02 till the very end, my head was down and I was bawling. I cried the entire time. The entire time. Worship happened. The Bible study happened. And I still had my Bible, so I still did the reading, but I couldn't keep the tears from falling. They were falling on my Bible, on my notepad. I had a notepad. I was taking notes, and I still remember the message. It was so powerful, and God spoke to me that day. And the message was about sovereignty, that God is sovereign. What I learned from that is that you're trying so desperately to hear from God, and you're almost like trying to force him to prove to him that he's God, that he's real, that he's there, that he's listening to you. It's like you're begging him for a sign. But God is not something to just be felt when you ask for it. God is sovereign. He's there whether you feel him or not. He is sovereign. He reigns. He is king. He's God. So it doesn't matter if you feel him or not. It can so happen that you feel his presence while you're worshiping, when you're in close connection with him. But whether that happens or not, he is still God. So I remember realizing that. I was like, okay, God, I apologize for trying to get you to make me feel you. You are God, period. Whether I feel your presence or not, you are still here. So I was so grateful. And it was like a band-aid over my heart. So that's the episode of me being pregnant, returning to Canada. And we have a whole other life story from there. We can keep that as another part, maybe a part 2 to this introduction. We can continue tomorrow because a whole lot has happened since. Yeah, let me know if you had a similar experience in your journey with God. Like, did you grow up in the church? Did you grow up Christian and believing in God, but mainly to please parents, to please the church, to please people who were watching you grow up? Did you have to come back to God for yourself later in life? And let me know if you had a similar journey. I'd be curious to know. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Love you. It's like you're begging him for a sign. But God is not something to just be felt when you ask for it. God is sovereign. He's there whether you feel him or not. He is sovereign. He reigns. He is king. He's God. So it doesn't matter if you feel him or not. It can so happen that you feel his presence while you're worshiping, when you're in close connection with him. But whether that happens or not, he is still God. So I remember realizing that. I was like, okay, God, I apologize for trying to get you to make me feel you. You are God, period.